The name of your farm or homestead is probably going to be the first thing that any outsider is going to look at and be able to get information about your farm or homestead. And today we're actually going to talk about branding and how to come up with a name for your farm. I'm Danielle of the Split Arrow Farm, and welcome to our channel where we bring you new content every Wednesday and Sunday on how we're building our own homestead. And along our journey, we love to share a lot of tips and tricks that we've found throughout that ride. And it's actually quite funny because I've been in the digital marketing industry for over 8 years, and with that I've learned a lot about marketing, and I want to share a lot of the secrets that I've learned with you guys as well, because when you do start to homestead and farm and really just become more self-sufficient, you are going to kind of learn that at the beginning, it takes a lot of money. And we know in our industry that a lot of other individuals are trying to sell some of the products that they do have, let it be maybe quail eggs or chicken eggs, or even meat or products that they're making. And that is amazing because it lets you continue on with your journey of creating your farm and becoming more self-sustainable without having to wait to be able to purchase things and without going into a large amount of debt. So for the next couple of videos, I'm actually going to be going into a few really cool ways that you guys can start to turn your farm into a little bit of a side hustle or a business so that you are able to make some money to either make money to pay back for some of your livestock. I know that's one thing that we really wanted to do here at our farm, is to be able to not only have our own eggs every single morning, but get a little extra chickens. It's not that much harder to house or take care of them, and it creates a nice little coop environment for all of them. And this way we can actually sell some of the eggs to pay for some of the food and feed that we're giving to them. And being able to brand your farm and get the name out there is going to be really important. And it starts with your name. So today we're going to be talking about coming up with the perfect name. And to kick things off, we wanted to start off with talking about how we came up with our name. It comes as no surprise that the name of our farm is the Split Arrow Farm. If you've been listening to our channel for a while, or if you just stumbled upon the name of our YouTube channel, you would know that we are called the Split Arrow Farm. Now, this name came after a lot of brainstorming and a lot of prior knowledge on brand names, and this also dated back to a story that we hold near and dear to our hearts when Chris and I actually met for the first time. We ended up meeting at a friend's Halloween party, and Chris was dressed up as Robin Hood, who's known for the ability to split an arrow. Now, Chris is a hunter, and he loves to be able to use his bow and arrow out in the fields. So this is somewhat of a hobby for him as well. And the split arrow is a symbol of our relationship in many different ways. So this was something that we really wanted to utilize when we did come up with a name. And when we did start to actually think through ideas, this is something that we came up with. And we use this name throughout all of our different products and just any general branding that we do have. So you want to make sure that the name that you do pick is something that you really like and is something that you're going to be happy and proud to share, whether that be on t-shirts, on products, on websites. And I think it should be something easy to spell. Those are probably my two biggest tips, but we're actually going to dive into some naming styles and how you can start to learn how to name your brand from different brands throughout the entire globe. So let's get started. The first way that you can come up with a name for your farm or homestead could be to use your last name or first name and be able to bring that into the name of your farm. A great example of this is Disney. This was founded by Walt Disney, and he used his last name to create the brand name, and it is really a household brand name today. And if you have a good last name, I think, again, going back to like one of my personal things is it easy to spell? Because I know that when I'm typing in a lot of different things, if it's a word that I'm not going to remember or know how to spell, then I think it might not be that smart to use your name. But if it is something that's pretty easy to spell and you think has a nice ring to it, then it might be a really great way to start off with your branding. And a lot of your friends and family are already going to know your name. The second way that you can start to come up with your farm or homestead could be using a descriptive name. So an example here could be Whole Foods. This really describes that when you're going there, you're going to find whole, natural, organic foods. So you're really describing the entire brand within your name, and the end user or the purchaser or the customer that you're going to be selling these products to is going to know exactly what they're getting when they come to your brand. Now, this can be great, but it can also mean that if your brand does become really big, it could always become a synonym for that brand. So an example here is Kleenex for a tissue or Band-Aid for a bandage. They came up with the names that were descriptive to the product, but then they also became another word for that product. If you live in a small town, this is something that you could see become really common. Maybe someone's saying that they're going to go to your specific farm just because they want to get farm fresh products, but they really mean the idea of getting farm fresh products. I doubt if you guys are going to be running a small business that this would be an issue, but this is something that many larger industries have run into from time to time, and something that you might want to think about as you go through the idea of coming up with your brand name. The third strategy for coming up with a brand name is going to be using geographic location. Now, Patagonia is one larger brand that uses this strategy, talking about the Patagonia region, and they use that name, which actually was a lot of the ideas that came around for their outerwear and why they've made it the way that they did. Now, you might decide to name it after the city, state, part of the land that you live in, but you might also want to take some of the items from that area to create the name as well. Let's say that there's a large spring in the mountains where you live. You might want to call it Spring Mountain, or maybe there is a grassy field that you're creating your farm on, so you call it Grassy Field Farm. These are ways that you can name yours by the geographic location or the area that you live to come up with your farm name. And if these are really well-known geographic items within that area, it might be a great way to use that as well. The next strategy for naming your brand is going to be personification. We see this a lot within the industry, and examples here could be something like Betty Crocker, where they're actually taking a made up, or you could use a real person or maybe a made up animal that's becoming personified to create a brand name. So maybe you want to do example like the laughing cow or the silly rabbit lamb chops. Something like that could be a great way to come up with a brand name as well, really taking an animal or a made up person and personifying them into not only the name of your brand, but you can use them as maybe a mascot for your brand as well, bringing in pictures of them into your labels, making sure that they're always kind of there within all of your digital marketing, and they're actually an image for your brand outside of you and your family or anyone else that's a part of your farm. Dunkin' Donuts is an alliteration, and that's another way that you can come up with your brand name. Alliterations or rhyming words are going to be fun ways that you can grab someone's attention and help the customer actually remember your brand. An example, if you were looking to name your farm or homestead, could be something like Ridge Ranch. Again, you're using that double R to really capture in the outsider with creating a fun way of letting them learn the name of your brand name. And it is something that later on, you could even use something like Dunkin' Donuts now uses DD on their labels as a shorter way of using that again, and it can really help you in the long term. So alliterations and rhyming are a really fun way to get your customers brought in to your name. Going off of fun names, another way that you can bring in your customers is by using derivatives of words. Now, it was really hard for me to think of some farm-esque examples of these, but some real life examples are something like Nespresso or Zappos, where you're actually bringing in real words, i.e. espresso, and then you're turning it into Nespresso. It's a fun play on the words, and I think it's going to be really cool if you could think of some really fun ones around your farm or the activities or the products that you sell. So I love that one. And I've also read that that's a really great strategy for trademarking. It's usually really easy to trademark a word that is kind of a derivative or a made up word. And that brings me into the next strategy, which is actually making up a word that has no real use in the world. And this is a great way that you can really create a new brand. Again, I do think you're going to want to make sure that it is easy to spell, that it looks cool on paper, and people can actually pronounce it, because that's going to be really important as you come up with your brand and your whole strategy around that as well. But there are some really cool words that you could come up with, and they could really add to your brand, add to the label, and again are going to be really easy to trademark because they're not already words in the English dictionary. Okay, I had to take a quick iced tea break, and I hope that you guys are really learning a lot from this. We have 2 more ideas and strategies on how to come up with a name for your farm, so stay tuned. But if you guys are getting knowledge out of this and this is helping you think through ideas, please make sure to throw up a like and definitely subscribe to our channel, because we're going to do a lot more videos on branding and strategy ideas for your farm. So you're definitely gonna want to stay along for this journey. Okay, so we are on to the last 2. Now, the second to last one is going to be hybrid names. So this is taking 2 words that are already real words and you're combining them together. So think Microsoft, think pad, anything like that where you can really take 2 words and kind of smush them together is going to be a great way that you can actually use this. Now, my friend is actually starting her own brand, and she wanted to create organic products. You can check her out on Etsy actually, and I'll provide a link of her store down below. But she used the name Root Farm to create her own brand and name. And it's a really great way that she's creating 2 known words and just kind of smishing them together to make one new brand. The last strategy here that we're gonna go over is using acronyms or initials to come up with a name. The example for this one is going to be KFC. Everyone knows it as KFC. Its real name, or what it stands for, is Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, I feel like a lot of law firms probably use this. They'll shorten their name so they aren't using everyone's last name within it. And this can be something that you can do from the very beginning. So Split Arrow Farm, we can call ourselves SAF. And this might be harder for someone to grasp at the very beginning of our brand, whereas maybe years down, when people have more brand recognition for us, they'll start to know us as SAF. So think through all of these ideas. I hope you guys got some ideas brewing in your minds. And if you do think of a really fun name, I want you guys to comment down below. And I'm really excited to hear if this was helpful. And we'll see you guys again next time. Bye.